What's going on, everybody? This is Leo here, just doing another video. Today's video is going to be focused on feedback and customer satisfaction. It's going to be focused primarily on a situation I had recently on my TCG Player account, but realistically, this can apply to any situation and any platform. Again, my name's Leo. I do run a Pokemon selling business, Mudkip Sales CT. I run that off of my own site, off of Wix, but I do sell some singles on my TCG Player account. And I think one of the most important parts about having a business is making sure that your customers feel like they can trust you and make sure that they're going to get what they order. And I think that's a really important thing to do in this business because they have to rely on you shipping appropriately, shipping safely, sending the cars that they expect and in the condition that they want you to, or they are expecting based off of your listings there. And so for TCG players, since those are singles, that adds in another aspect, which comes in regarding condition. So you want to make sure that if you are listing it as near mint, that card is near mint per TCG players conditioning guide. Same thing with lightly played, moderately played, whatever it might be. So as you can see here on the screen, I have a Staraptor from Supreme Vectors. The reason why I have that is this was a card that a customer had purchased from me recently, and it was lightly played. That's the condition I had it set as, and I had a customer provide me a negative feedback on my TCG Player account. Now, this happens from time to time. Anytime you get a score of 3 or less out of 5, it will show up as a negative feedback. You will get an email from TCG Player, and it's always good to address the customer within 24 hours, if not sooner, because you want to address where the issue is, try and fix it, make sure that the customer feels like their issue is being resolved. So this particular customer reached out to me and said, hey, I just got the card. Unfortunately, the condition is what he was saying as moderate to heavy played at best, not near mint. So I replied back to him fairly quickly and told him that. So I see that you mentioned that it was not near mint. However, I had the card listed as lightly played. And I personally, and I didn't put this in the message, but whenever I condition cards on TCG Player, I'm a little bit overcritical when I condition. So I may put something as lightly played, but it could probably pass as near mint per standard of TCG Player. But I just make sure I just try to do my best to always be as accurate as possible, and even go a little bit less if I feel like it's on the line, to really avoid any of these conditioning discrepancies. But when he said that he believed that it was moderate to heavy played at best, to me, I didn't think that would be the case. But again, customers will have their own perspective of what's going on there for you. And at the end of the day, TCG Player isn't going to see these cards, so it's up to you as the seller to address this. Now, what I've done, and I've only had a couple of situations like this where someone felt that the condition was not what I put it as, and I got back to the customer right away. I said, apologies for the card arriving in a condition below what you were expecting. I will look at the price of what I stated it was. So let's just say near mint, and they believe it was lightly played. I will compare the difference in condition and let the customer know that I could definitely provide a partial refund for the difference of the condition, or if they would prefer, they could always just send me back the card and I could provide them a full refund. I've only really had a handful of these situations happen. I have currently over 700 reviews on TCG Player. My percentage is still 100%. A couple of the times when this occurred, I reached out to the customer. We talked about it. I mentioned what I just did, and I provided that refund. They've always done the partial refund. I haven't had anyone say that they wanted to send the card back. Um, and then the customer ends up adjusting their um, feedback to 5, perfect score, because they feel like you addressed their concern. No, in this case, I apologize, guys. I'm a little bit sick today. Um, this customer never replied. I gave them the two options. I was willing to do either one. They never replied. The feedback hit my store, and it dropped me down from that 100 to 99.7%. Now, obviously, that's still really high. It was my only negative review that I've had so far, but I felt that I reached out quickly, timely, thoroughly, providing two potential options, and the customer didn't um, ever reply. So I reached out to TCG Player support, put in a ticket, mentioned what happened. They gave me an automated email saying they'd get back to me in 24 hours, which was true. By next day, I got a reply back saying that they reviewed my response or my email. They reviewed my past feedback and messages to the buyer. They addressed that. They removed the negative review from my store, and they blocked that particular customer on my store. Now, this isn't to say that if you get every single negative review, you can just have customer support remove it, customer support remove it. There has to be some indication. I've actually never had to reach out to customer support to have this done, so they probably could see my history that I'm not one to do this normally, and they could see my up to that point 100% percent rating. Um, but you want to always make sure, regardless of your percentages, you want to always reach out right away, address a customer's complaints, give them some options, let them know that you're willing to work with them on those situations. So in that situation, customer kept the card that they had. I didn't get the negative review. I'm at 100. You keep on going. There are other situations though that may not turn out exactly the same. So I have had a couple of other situations, again, only a handful, where I've had someone reach out to me and say, "Hey, I never received the card." Now, obviously, since TCG Player doesn't require tracking for orders below $50, and especially on a lower order, you're not going to add tracking. That would eat up all the profit that you're looking to get on that sale. So there's no way for uh, the seller, like myself, to say otherwise that the card arrived or not. Now, I will say, for the most part, people tend to be pretty truthful on here. Like I said, I've only had a handful of situations where it was stated to me that the card did not end up being delivered. Now, I can't say for sure that that did or did not happen, but it very rarely happens in general. So I'm going to assume that for the most part, those situations, it very well may not have arrived. So what I did in those situations is, customer let me know the card didn't arrive. I double checked to make sure that it was at least the minimum window of time for TCG Player. So they'll usually look and see, is it at least in the has the window of time from the expected delivery date passed, which is, I think, like 7 to 10 business days. So I always make sure. So if the customer messages me before that, I'll say, hey, you're not quite at that date. Can you at least keep an eye on it until that time? And then if it still hasn't arrived, get back to me. Or if they message me originally and say, hey, it already is past that time, I'll say, hey, could you check, wait a couple days, let's see if the card arrives. If not, let me know. So usually in those couple days, card arrives, they'll message me back saying, I got the card, all good. But if they continue to say, hey, the card didn't arrive, it's up to you as a seller to address it. So I will always just let them know and say, hey, apologies that the card didn't arrive. Let me send you a full rate refund on your order, and hope to see you again in the future. And that's always been fine. Most of the time, the cards are very low in price. I've never had any high end card be that issue, which again I think speaks to the fact that people are being truthful for the most part. But ultimately, I think is You just have to be present and be willing to address those customers' concerns. And this applies for anything. If you are on eBay and selling singles or seal product, if you have your own site and you're using a third party um, program for reviews, same mentality. You want to make sure that you're doing that because at the end of the day, especially when you're starting out as a newer business or a newer individual seller, the way that you can get customers to um, buy from you or repeat buy from you is by looking at those ratings. So if they see that I've had 700 reviews and they're all over 100%, they can feel pretty confident that they will get what they pay for and safely when they buy from me. Same thing through my site. I'm much newer, so I've only had a couple of reviews pop up on there because, again, as opposed to TCG Player, where over once you've hit past that window, you will get an automatic 5-star review if they don't go in and do anything manually. Whereas through your site, you have to try and figure out a way to try and have people leave reviews for you, and then that will speak to, again, your pricing, your product, your shipping, all those kinds of things, your timing, whatever it might be. So you definitely want to make sure you do that because at the end of the day, it's going to help you moving forward. So even in those situations where I maybe took a loss on a card that was supposedly didn't get delivered, maybe it might have been a 3, 5, 10, whatever it is, dollar loss. At the end of the day, you address the situation with the customer, you kept your high rating, and that'll make sure that going forward, you'll get more business. If every single time someone had an issue and you didn't want to address it, they were likely to leave more negative feedback because you are showing that you're not willing to work with the customer, and that will, in the long term, work against you and your sales. So that's just what I kind of wanted to touch on today. I feel like uh, it can be very easy to make a mistake and think that because it wasn't your fault that you're not going to address it, but that's not the mindset that you want to go through. You want to make sure that your customers feel like they're being heard. And that will hopefully not only bring them back, but maybe they'll mention it to other individuals or people which come across your store will be more willing to buy from you. So that's kind of just what I wanted to touch on today. Again, I'm just starting into doing some more long form content. Um, and I hope to continue to get a little better at it. Not be so rambly, a little bit more on point, but I feel like that'll come with time. Again, my name is Leo. I run Mudkip Sales CT. You can always visit my TCG Player store for some singles, and definitely my site for sealed. I'm hoping to add more product over the holiday season, and then I might have something in the works to maybe do a lottery on a small amount of Ascended Heroes once that gets going at the beginning of next year, ideally at a close to MSRP price. But we'll kind of work on that as time goes. Otherwise, that's it for today, guys. Have a good day.